Hello, welcome back. So we are going to add a few things to our lidded jars. One, we're going to put a handle on the top. We're going to put a flange on the inside, and I'll explain that. We are going to clean up the inside, and we're going to make sure our foot is on there, and then we're going to add some texture. Okay, so a couple things I did while we were away. I grabbed some more tools. So we should have our trimming tools. Okay, so whatever ones you have with you, and you should have this wood trimming tool. We are going to use these to carve out texture. Okay, so that's one way of adding a texture. All right, another way of adding texture is actually physically adding clay to the surface. All right, so what I've done is I've rolled out tons of these little balls of clay that I'm going to slip and score and attach. I kind of have an idea in mind, so I'm going to try that. I'm also going to use some found objects as texture. So this is just the cover of a light bulb or like Christmas light fixture. So I'm going to use that to roll onto the surface of my pot. Really, anything and everything will work. If you find the bottom of your shoe, you can use any texture. If we want to talk about texture, here's a bottle I finished last night. So this is actually wood grain. I have a big board that I press my clay into, my slabs into, and I stand it up and I make these vessels. So this is going to be a bottle. So it's going to have a strap here. It'll hold a cork here, and then so there's going to be a little hook or a little string to hold that together. And then when it's all fired, glazed and all, I'm going to adhere a handle, a wood handle, to the side here. So I have throne, I have a pinch pot, I have a slab, another pinch pot, and then I just have solid little wood textured lugs of clay. So there's a bottle. That's about 18 inches tall. Okay, so let's start with the first thing. I want to cut the lid off this one. I'm going to cut it different than this one. I'm going to cut this one more straight. So it'll make sense to why I have to add that flange. So I'm going to go back to my sharpest tool I have. Should be this blade that I made. Let's make a decision. I'm going to go just a little bit above half. I'm going to make some kind of initial lines just to kind of give me an idea of where I want to cut. Okay, so very fine line, and I'm going to hold this in my hand. There should be paper inside here that is going to help support it. I'm going to try to gently cut a straight line. Remember, don't cut yourself if you're using a box knife or an X-Acto knife. I'm trying to be as gentle as possible to not mess up my shape. This is a little bit softer than leather hard, so it's cutting quite nicely. Alright, I almost got all the way around. Just be gentle. Okay, I think I got through. Paper might be holding it on. Yep, paper had it. Okay, so now I have a lid. So this lid's a little bit different than that first one I demoed and showed. Notice that there's a shape to the lid. It's not a straight line. It's got these little curved lines. I have some straight lines. A lid like this doesn't need a flange to hold it in place. Notice that I can rock it back and forth and it stays in place. So this one doesn't need a flange to keep that lid in place. This one, on the other hand, let me get this paper out of the way. Alright, paper's out of the way. Put that in the trash. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I've rolled out a coil. I am going to add a flange, and that flange is going to go right in here. Okay? So that is to keep that lid from sliding either back and forth or side to side. Alright? So while I'm waiting, I'm going to put this there, let that rest together. There you go. All right, so I've rolled out a coil. Doesn't need to be thick. This is probably the diameter of a pencil. I hope everybody's tried rolling a coil, because that will be the next technique of building we will use. Okay, so I'm rolling from the back of my palm to my fingertips. Okay, and there's pressure going down towards the table. If I don't push very hard, it's gonna give you thumps. It's gonna be squished on one side or on two sides and round on the other two sides. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take that coil and just flatten it out a little bit. So I'm just making almost a long slab. Okay, all the way to the end. Overlap my presses or my pushing down towards the table. Okay, there is going to be my flange. So before I do that, what I want to do is I want to clean up any of this stuff that I have on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trimming tool. I'm going to hold this in my hand, try not to deform this, and I'm going to just clean up anything that I want to remove. You can kind of see, hopefully, right here there's a little bit of where the overlap of the two pots. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove that. This clay you can let dry out if you want. The little bits that you're trimming off, let it dry out and then turn it into slip. Okay. So that's clean enough for right now. I'll go back and clean it up more. And then I want to clean up the lip in here as well. Okay, I'm going to call that good. There you go. Cleaned up. So now, move those guys out of the way. I'm going to take my slip. I'm going to run a little bit along my top edge of my flange. I'm thinking about this as two parts. I got half and half. So I'm going to have a half that's hanging down and not connected to the pot. So floating in the air, and the other is going to be connected to the inside of the pot. Okay? And I slip inside here. Now I'm going to take my scoring tool, which is either needle tool, fork, whatever you are using. So I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to use my spiky potato. Has anybody made any tools to make their life a little bit easier? If you have, post them. That'd be awesome. I'd like to see some problem solving. Okay, so I'm just checking to see which way it fits. And I'm going to make a couple marks, and then I won't lose track. Okay, score this along the top. Okay, I'm going to rest this on the table. And then I'm going to pinch them together. So the two scored areas are going together. Oh, come on. Okay, take my sharp tool, go ahead and cut that off, put that to the side. Okay, so now I have that flange all the way around. I want to make sure it's nice and connected. I'm going to start to gently push it towards the two together, which is the lid and the flat coil. So I rolled my coil out a little bit earlier. Hopefully to have it stiffened up. Didn't stiffen up as much as I'd like, but it's okay. I just have to be gentle whenever I go to attach it or rest this back on top of the pot. Okay, I'm gonna go back and cut just a little bit off here. I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup as I kind of go through this process. Okay. Okay, I have that little mark to where it goes back together. And there you go. Now, when it's dry, fired, and glazed, it won't slide. So now the lid should be on there nice and firm. Okay, one little trick if you're struggling with wet clay and the lid and the body sticking together, what you can do is, let's see what I got. I have tons of plastic around, so what I'm going to do, tear some of this plastic off, and I'm going to push this inside. So that's inside. What I'm going to do is flip this over, and now that plastic's going to act as like a barrier between the two going together, and I can easily take the lid off. And also, it gives me the opportunity to push it down so it makes a nice connection, and it can dry like this. Okay, so there's how to cut another lid and add the little flange on the inside. So this one I cleaned up right. So now I'm going to add some texture to it. My thought was I was going to carve with my carving tool. I'm going to take the square end and make kind of little tick marks down towards my body. So I'm going to hold it in my hand, and I'm just going to go like this. Tick. And I'm just going to make a random texture. I'm just going to show you part of it right now. Okay, I kind of have a pattern going. I have a line here, and then I've jumped over and gone in between. And then I've jumped over, gone in between, and I will do that all the way around. But what I want to do is show you another thing you can do. You can add clay, so soft clay, to your leather hard. So what do we need to do? We need to take our needle tool, and I'm going to put a little round ball of clay in between some of these. I'm going to figure out a pattern as I go through. So I've slipped and scored both, and then I'm going to gently wiggle it down. So why am I adding texture? What's texture for? It really changes a pot from something that's smooth and maybe bland to giving you obviously a different surface, but also when it comes to glazing. When it comes to glazing, you can use one glaze and you can get multiple colors. So how something breaks on a surface. So this would be, we're going to talk about this as three surfaces. We have cut down inside is in between my fingers. On top is where it breaks over the edge, and then a smooth surface. So you're going to have different levels. You're going to have a solid color here. You're going to have two colors here. So it's kind of nice to play with texture. Okay? So a little bead. That can be anything. You could add a flower, and I can show you a real quick flower. I'm going to take some of these guys. Actually, I'm going to do it a little bit bigger so you can see it. So I'm going to make a little bit of lugs of clay. Make a round ball of clay. Make another round ball of clay. Press it in between your fingers. Okay. So this is adding a texture. This is adding a detail. If you want to add details, it's awesome. It's nice because it makes that object that you're making just a little bit more special. There's a quick little flower. Nothing fancy. And you can make that and then slip and score that onto your pot. Okay, the handle. The handle can be anything. The handle to the lid can be as simple as just this little flower knob. But what we don't want to do is have to grab it by here. I want you to have something that helps you take it off. So I'm going to put these little tick marks and put these little round balls. So my simplest handle I can do is make a round ball, slip and score, and that would be as simple as it can get. All right. All right, the foot, you can leave it flat like this, or you can do the little cut lip and make sure you give it a little bit of a flare. What you could do is you could match whatever way you cut your lid. So I could cut a little flange and then make nice little scallop cuts. For this project, I think that's about it, what you need to see. So explore textures. That's either carving, adding, so I'm going to add all these little balls, or take a found object that you can use as a texture. I'm going to hold this up closer to the camera. There we go. So this is a grinding wheel for grinding keys. So not a heavy texture, but this would be nice over the whole thing if you can just do it over the whole thing. Let's try the light bulb cover. So pushing down a little bit, trying not to hurt my pot. Then maybe you texture before you cut your lid. It kind of looks like a scale on a snake or a fish. So that's an option. If you don't like something, watch this. You can smooth it back out. Okay? That's the wonderful thing about working with clay. There's no mistakes. There's no right or wrong. So you should be exploring. That's what I'm going to look for. I want you to have a texture on your lidded jar. It can be really faint. It can be line work. A lot of you did really nice little line work on your pot. You can do that again. Okay, just find something that works for you. Make it relatable to you. If you like cats, or if you like the ocean, draw an ocean scene. Do something like that. Don't be shy to explore. Don't be shy to find something that will leave a mark. So those were some found objects. Here are some more. So this is a piece of driftwood. Another piece of driftwood. All right, I don't think I have any other textures here, but I am a big fan of textures. Here's a finished little mug that I did a long time ago. But when I was talking about the surfaces of texture, so notice that it's really dark in the carved out section, and then it's really light on the upper section, and then how it's one color through the smooth. Okay, so I will try to figure out how we're going to glaze these. I think sometime this week I'm going to start to build a little soda kiln in my backyard. I don't think the city of Kewanee will like it very much, but if it's for learning, they might let me get away with it if I can convince them that it's a fire pit. Okay, you guys have any questions, please post them to the discussion area. Remember, go to the announcements page and look up the Wisconsin artists that I have given you. Go beyond, try to find something, somebody that's not on that list. The ones that I listed were some, I'm not going to say common, but they're people that I've run into over my time here in Wisconsin. They're pretty well known. So go ahead and look at those Wisconsin artists, put them in the discussion area so we can talk about it. They may come into play for the next project, so I need you all to look at them. All right, guys. Thank you. Talk to you soon.